Rob here at Etrailer.com, and today you're going to be taking a look at the TST tire pressure monitor system for RVs, along with the brass sensors that go with our tire pressure system. Now, whenever you're driving a motorhome, there's a lot of things you need to think about. There's all those pre-trip inspections, make sure your fuel's working, your light's working, you have all your gear, and you're ready to go. One of the things that can get overlooked really easily is your tire pressure. Now, that's kind of a big thing. If our tire pressure gets too low, it can cause a lot of wear on our tires, if not a blowout. But if the tire pressure is too high, it can also cause a lot of problems. But it becomes a hassle to get out of your motorhome, stop at the side of the road, get your air pressure gauge out, and check each one. Well, our TST tire pressure monitor system is going to allow us to do that without ever having to get out. We can simply look at the screen and it'll tell us what the pressure is and what the temperature is before something catastrophic happens. The full color screen is going to provide us all the information we need to know, the position of the tire, the temperature, as well as the pressure. It's going to provide us early warning detections with visual and audible alerts. That way we know if the blowout happens, a significant pressure change, or the temperature exceeds too much. It is going to refresh every 5 minutes with new information. And it's going to let you store up to 4 separate vehicles or orientations. As you can see, we have our motorhome up here, we have 2 single tires in the front, and then we have duals in the back. And then for our towed vehicle, we have 4 single tires. Now the TST is going to work with more sensors. It's going to be able to read up to 38 tires. So if you have multiple vehicles that you tow behind your motorhome, or if you have a lot of trailers that you need to keep track of, it's a more cost-effective way just to get the sensors and programs to your existing monitor rather than buying a whole nother kit. Our kit's going to come with 6 flow-through sensors, and what that means is we're not going to have to take the whole sensor off. We can actually just remove the cap. If we need to add air, it'll be just as easy as normal, but we'll have the convenience of having the sensor to give us the reading. And these are just going to screw on to the regular valve stem and then provide us that flow-through so we can still inflate our tires. Now, each one of our flow-through sensors are going to have a brass construction. Those are going to be designed for steel, chrome, or nickel valve stems, but they're not going to be compatible with the rubber valve stems. Now, our kit's also going to include a repeater. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to boost the signal. Since most motorhomes are rather large, it's going to make sure that it's getting the best signal it can to the monitor from each one of the sensors. Now, our tow vehicle, we did add sensors as well that we can monitor everything when we're going down the road. Now, these are going to look a little bit different, and they do install a little bit differently than the others. These are not going to be flow-through, so we are going to have to remove the sensor in order to deflate or inflate our tires. But the nice thing is they are tamper-proof. As you can see, I can try to unscrew it all day long, and it's just going to start spinning. And that's because you're going to need to use the included tool to remove it. Now, the way you do that is we're just going to slide it over our sensor, and there's a couple little flat spots that the wrench will grab, and then we can just loosen it up or tighten it to put it on. As far as the installation goes, it is going to be extremely straightforward. We're simply going to have to program each sensor to the position we want and then set the pressure what we want it to be at. But now that we've seen our sensors and gone over some of the features, let's show you how to get them set up. So here's everything that's going to come with our kit. We're going to get 6 flow-through sensors, a repeater, which is going to boost the signal so we can make sure to get all the way from the front all the way to the back of our motorhome and get the full signal, as well as the power cord, an adapter to plug into a 12-volt power source, 2 mounts, and the full color screen monitor. Now, a few little things that they added that I really like is they've added these stickers so we can actually label each one of our sensors what position it is, and they do provide us with new gaskets as well as screws so that we can replace the batteries inside the sensor. If you ever had to deal with TPMS sensors on your car before, really you find out real quick that you really can't service them, you can't replace the battery, but these are extremely easy with just 2 screws to remove the cover, and then we can get access to the battery inside. Now, since our motorhome is going to be towing a vehicle behind it, we're going to be adding the 4 brass sensors for TST monitors. That way we can monitor the tires on our towed vehicle as well. Now, these are going to be sold separately, and you can find them here at Etrailer.com. But now that we have all of our components ready, we're going to move out to our motorhome and our towed vehicle and get everything hooked up. To start our installation, we're at the driver's side front tire of our motorhome because this is going to be what we want to be position 1. So we'll grab one of our sensors, and we'll grab the sticker kit. And I'm going to go ahead and grab position number 1. I'll put it on my sensor. And now before we screw this on, we want to turn our monitor on. So we're going to want to grab our monitor. If we come to the side on the right hand side, we'll have a little toggle switch. Flip it up to turn the monitor on. And we'll have a blank screen just with a blue box with our degrees and our pressure. We need to get our sensors set up, so we'll go to the set button, push and hold it. Should beep. And then down here at the bottom we're going to get different messages. We need to scroll through using the plus or minus button until we get Learn ID. So here we have Learn ID, so we'll hit the set button again. And then we'll get 3 Fs in each box. And if you see, the tire position is going to be flashing. That's on the right front. We want our number 1 to be the left front, so we're going to scroll through until we get to it. Once we're on there, we're going to push and hold the set button again. We should get 3 flashing Fs in each box. We'll grab our sensor, we're going to hold it close to the monitor, and we're going to hit the go button. It's going to be the one on top. Then we should have a series of numbers flashing. That's going to be the ID for this sensor. Now, one thing I do want to mention, you want to keep all the other sensors at least a couple feet away from the monitor while you're programming them. And once you have that one set, we're going to hit set again. And that'll store it in there. So we'll move over to the right front. We can grab our number 2 sensor and do the same thing. And repeat it for all the tires that we have on our motorhome. Once you have them all programmed, we're going to hit the back button until we get to the main menu. Now if you do, you will get a beeping because none of our tire sensors are in right now, so they all should be reading 0. But we're going to go ahead and hit the top button, the go button. That'll turn that alarm off so we can continue to program them and set everything else up. Now that we have them all hooked up and programmed, we should be getting a 0 reading for everything, but we should get a temperature. We're going to come to the set button again, push and hold it. It'll beep. This time we want to push the plus button 3 times. And we should get a set message at the bottom. And over here it'll say PSI or bar. Once we have that, we're going to go ahead, hit the set button again. And we can use the plus or minus to switch between the PSI or bar. We want to leave it on PSI. Okay, once we have it set on PSI, we can make sure it's set. We'll hit our back button and go back to the main menu. Now we want to set our pressure so we know that it's not going to be too low. So we're going to hold the set button. And we're going to scroll through until we get to low pressure. It should say low pressure set. We're going to hit the set button. And now this is going to be per axle because you don't want one tire higher than the other. So it is going to be per axle. In our motorhome, we're going to set the low pressure to about 100 because our tires should be about 110. So it'll give us a little bit of leeway. Once we have the axle set, we can hit set again. And we'll just scroll through each one of our axles. Hit the go button to switch to the other axle. And we'll have all 3 of ours set up at 100 PSI. Once we get all that set, we can hit set one more time. It'll bring us back to the main menu. We can hit back. Now we can go back out to our tires and put our sensors in place. That way they can start reading. At this point, we want to come to our tire. We'll remove the valve stem cap. Once we have that removed, we're just going to screw our sensor in just like a normal cap. Line everything up, and we'll screw it in, make sure it starts. And then once we get it going, we'll eventually start hearing air escape. We want to keep going until it's locked all the way down. And once we have this one in, we're going to repeat that so all of our sensors are in place. Now that our monitors are in place, we want to hook up our repeater. Now this is basically just going to be a signal booster. And since we're using our tire pressure monitor system on a towed vehicle as well, we want to put this towards the back of our motorhome so it'll get the full range of all the sensors. We'll find our repeater. Coming off the harness, we're just going to have 2 ring terminals, one red, one black. Red goes to positive, black goes to negative. So you're going to want to find your battery in your motorhome, and you can hook it up directly to the battery or the post, But since I want to make sure that my TPMS is going to work all the time, I'm going to hook it directly to the battery. In our case, we're going to remove the terminals on top with a 9/16 wrench. Just loosen up the terminal, pull the nut off, slide our terminal over, then we can replace the nut. We'll do the same thing for the other terminal. The ring terminals are pretty large, so they should fit over most battery posts. But a quick tip, if it's too big of a post where you can't slide the ring over, you can actually just cut a little section out to where it's a C, and then you can slide it around the post. Keeps you from having to go out and get extra terminals, and it'll still have a good connection. Come back and tighten up our terminals. And then on our repeater, you can see that we're going to have a red light. If it's solid, it means it's working and the signal is getting out. Every once in a while it may have a flash, that's just it resetting, but if it's constantly flashing, it means that it's not working. Now, when you go to mount your repeater, you can mount it just about anywhere. We got 2 holes on the side tabs here that we can use the included screws to screw into, or we can use the double-sided hook and loop fasteners so we can attach it temporarily so we can easily remove it. Now, our repeater is going to be waterproof, so if you need to mount it on the outside, you don't have to worry about that. We'll go ahead and use our hook and loop. So I'm going to take the large section. I'll peel the backing off of it. Then I'm going to stick it directly to the back of my repeater. Press down, make sure it sticks really good. Then we'll take our other piece, remove the backing, and I'm going to put this towards the back of my motorhome in this compartment. Just going to stick that directly to the wall, and I can take my repeater and stick it right to it. And again, if you want, you can still put those 2 screws in to make sure it's really secure and it's not going to go anywhere. Once you have that done, you can zip tie all your wires up, and we're going to move to our towed vehicle and get those TPMS sensors hooked up. Now, programming our sensors for our towed vehicle is going to be the same. I went ahead and labeled all of them. I grabbed the ones that have T on it because that's going to be trailer or towed vehicle. So we're going to hit the set button again, hold it till it beeps, and we're going to scroll through until we get Learn ID again. We'll hit set. Now we want to hit the go button because that's going to switch it from our motorhome to the trailer. Then we want to put it into position 1. Again, we're going to start at the driver's side front tire. So we'll do the very outer one on the front. I'm going to hit set. Bring your sensor close. Hit go. It'll pick up the code, and then we can hit set. And we're just going to repeat that for each position of our towed vehicle and the tires. Now when you go to put the sensors on the vehicle, we're going to remove our cap. These are going to install a little bit differently. Because you can see at the bottom, we'll still screw them in, but the cap is going to free spin, so we're not going to be able to use our hands to thread it on. So we want to take the included wrench. It's going to slide right over the sensor just like that, and then it'll grab the 2 little notches on the inside so we can screw it in place. We just take our sensor, and we'll use the wrench to thread it on. Just keep in mind, if you need to add air, you will need to use the wrench to remove it as well. But it's going to prevent anybody from tampering with our tires or trying to take the sensor. Again, we'll hear a little bit of a hiss from air escaping. We just want to tighten it up until it's all the way on there. We're going to repeat that for all of our other positions on our towed vehicle. And just like we did with the other sensors, we're going to hit the set button, and we're going to set our low pressure for the rear axle. So we'll go to low pressure set, hit set. Now we want to scroll through until we get to the appropriate axle. Hit the go button to move back. Now this is the axle we have for our car. And you're going to see it's going to have all 3 axles because it's thinking it's a trailer. That's alright. We're going to set our low pressure to about 30 psi. Hit set again. Save everything in there. Now you can see the tire flashing. It's reading 101. But if I go to the other position, it's going to give us a low pressure warning because it's actually at the low pressure we set it to. Now you can adjust it to what it needs to be, or that's a good indication that we need to throw some air in our tires. Now we can move to the inside of our motorhome. Now the final thing we can do is we can plug in our USB cord to the adapter as well as the side of the monitor, plug it into our 12-volt power source, and then we can either use the dash mount to have it sitting here on the dash, or we can use the windshield mount to have it suction cupped on the windshield. But now we can hook up our towed vehicle and hit the road and have the confidence of knowing exactly what's going on with our tires. But again, I'm Rob here at Etrailer.com, and that'll finish up your look at the TST TPMS system for RVs, as well as the brass sensors to go along with them.